So there was a problem with Newton's theory of gravity, because although he understood that if you have two masses on a distance, that there's a force between them that brings them together, he had no idea how this force actually worked, especially because it was uh, happening on a long distance in a vacuum. Like there wasn't a physical structure between the sun and a planet holding them together. So how did this force of gravity work? And what if the sun suddenly disappeared? How would a planet know that the sun was gone and that its path, its orbit should be altered because the force of the sun has now gone? Newton had no idea how this worked. And with Einstein, we got an explanation for this. Because Einstein theorized that space, three-dimensional space, and time are actually a four-dimensional field. And this field can be stretched and curved. And what happens if you have a huge gravitational object, for example a sun, it makes a curvature in the fabric of space-time, a bit like a bowling ball that you place on a trampoline. And then what happens is other objects that have mass, they will change their trajectory according to this curved spacetime. So they follow straight paths in curved spacetime, and that's what an orbit is. So in short, matter tells spacetime how to curve, and spacetime tells matter how to move. And this solved the problem of Newton, that he didn't know what was in between the material. And Einstein said in between is this field of spacetime. And then we got quantum field theory, which also says that the entire universe exists out of fields, of, let's say for conversation, one combined field, which spans the entire universe. And then you have excitations, local and random, and that is how matter arises. So this solves the idea that particles magically arise and disappear and magically interact with each other over a distance, like the force of gravity. It solved this by saying that in between those things is a field, one field that spans the entire universe. Now, to make a jump to the idealist theory of Bernardo Kastrup, is that Bernardo say that this field isn't a material field, it's a mental field. It's actually mind. And this is how consciousness emerges. When the pattern gets complicated enough, the pattern of the mind states, that is what consciousness is. So a rock is what mental states look like when it is simple, but a human brain is what mental states look like when it's complex. But it's all mental state. And he also says that we now know what's in between those mental states, because he says he's not a panpsychist. He doesn't say that the universe is this big conscious field. No, it's not one big conscious field. It's a mental state. And only when the mental states get complex enough, that's when you get consciousness. But those consciousness, they have borders. So my consciousness is other from yours because it's another pattern, and in between is this mental field. So this draws borders between different consciousness. And this differs from, example, the Eastern philosophy view that all Atmans, all human personal consciousness, are all behind the screens connected with a universal consciousness, the Brahman. Bernardo says, no, this connection is just a field, and this field isn't consciousness.